Hello, welcome to Astronautics for Exploit. This is Dr. Ayenshola Ogundere. Satellite ground segment, terrestrial radio segment for spacecraft communication and radio waves reception from astronomical radio sources. Ground segment infrastructure, the earth-based facilities and networks that support spacecraft operations and data delivery, including ground stations, teleports, gateways, network operation centers, and terrestrial fiber links are essential for tracking satellites, sending commands, receiving data, and routing information to end users via the internet and cloud services. The tracking of the first adversary satellite, Sputnik 1, launched by the Soviet Union in 1957, and the US first satellite, Vanguard 1, launched in 1958, demonstrated the early efforts at developing agile satellite ground segment and the capabilities of ground-based radio detection and tracking of satellites. Between 1950s and 1960s, NASA focused on the development of its ground segment systems for the purpose of comprehensive control and data relay and communication with its new satellites and support for its astronauts. Over time, commercial enterprises gained the necessary expertise to operate ground communication systems, and this thereby helped to reduce government space agencies' sole reliance on their own in-house ground segment infrastructure. Advancements in software as a service, software-defined radio, and network function virtualization aided the development of more flexible, scalable, and cost-effective ground segment operations, helping to support a new generation of satellite constellations. The focus points are as follows: ground segment, importance of ground segment, elements of a ground segment, and satellite ground segment providers. Ground segment. The ground segment is the ground-based infrastructure needed to support satellite operation, to control spacecraft in orbit, and to acquire, receive, process, and deliver data. A ground segment consists of all the ground-based elements of a space system used by operators and support personnel, as opposed to the space segment and user segment. The ground segment enables management of a spacecraft and distribution of payload data and telemetry among interested parties on the ground. Select ground segment facilities worldwide is illustrated in this picture. The ground segment serves as the gateway to getting valuable data collected by the satellite into the hands of the user. It is a critical component of the satellite system which requires attention at the earliest stages of mission planning. Understanding what ground solution best meets the needs of the mission has a direct impact on the spacecraft design, concept of operations, launch schedule, mission operations cost, and expected data volume for processing. Copernicus ground segment is illustrated in this picture. Importance of ground segments are as follows: commanding and control. The ground segment sends commands to the spacecraft in order to execute mission tasks and receive telemetry, which includes fighter health and performance data by the satellites. Data reception and processing. It receives signals from satellites, filters, and processes them to extract meaningful information, which is critical for analyzing data and providing actionable insights to users. Control room of European Space Operations Center is illustrated in this picture. Data dissemination. The ground segment serves as the conduit for getting satellite-derived data to end users through various networks, ensuring that valuable information reaches the people who need it for decision making. Mission operations. This segment is responsible for the continuous operation of the entire space system, ensuring that satellites and services function correctly and efficiently. End-to-end service delivery. For commercial applications such as broadband, ground segment handles everything from connecting to the satellite to providing internet access, billing, and support services for the users. Network topology of the satellite command and control system with payload and telemetry link separation is illustrated in this picture. Elements of a ground station are as follows. Ground or earth stations which provide radio interfaces with spacecraft, mission control or operation centers from which spacecraft are managed, remote terminals used by support personnel, spacecraft integration and test facilities, launch facilities, and ground networks which allow for communication between the other ground elements. Integrated ground systems is illustrated in this picture. Ground stations provide radio interfaces between the spacecraft and ground segments for telemetry, tracking and command, as well as payload data transmission and reception. Tracking methods such as NASA's Near-Earth Network and Space Network handle communications with multiple spacecraft through time sharing. Three segments of the satellite command and control system are illustrated in this picture. Ground stations provide radio interfaces between the space and ground segments for telemetry, tracking and command, as well as payload data transmission and reception. Tracking networks such as NASA's Near-Earth Network and Space Network handle communications with multiple spacecraft through time sharing. Ground station equipment may be monitored and controlled remotely. There are often backup stations from which radio contact can be maintained if there is a problem at the primary ground station which renders it unable to operate, such as a natural disaster. Renaissance ground segment is illustrated in this picture. Mission Control Center is another important element of a ground segment. Mission Control Centers process, analyze, issue commands, data uploads, and software updates to spacecraft. For crewed spacecraft, Mission Control manages voice and video communications with the crew. Control centers may also be responsible for configuration management and data archival. As with ground stations, there are often backup control facilities available to support continuity of operations. Control center at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab is illustrated in this picture. Remote terminals are interfaces on ground networks separate from the Mission Control Center, which may be accessed by payload controllers, telemetry analysts, instrument and science teams, and support personnel such as system administrators and software development teams. They may be received only or they may transmit data to the ground network. Terminals used by service customers include ISPs and end users, are collectively referred to as user segment and are typically distinguished from the ground segment. Novospace ground segment is illustrated in this picture. Ground networks handle data transfer and voice communication between different elements of the ground segment. These networks often combine local area network and wide area network elements for which different parties may be responsible. Satellite ground station is illustrated in this picture. Launch facilities are another element of a ground segment. Vehicles are delivered to space via launch facilities, which handle the logistics of rocket launches. Launch facilities are typically connected to the ground network to relay telemetry prior to and during launch. The launch vehicle itself is sometimes said to constitute a transport segment, which may be considered distinct from both the ground and space segments. Australia's fleet of Internet of Things is illustrated here, which is a ground station. Satellite ground segment providers. The providers range from large corporations such as Amazon, Lockheed Martin, and KSAT to specialized startups such as Leap Space and RBC Signals. They offer services such as ground station access, telemetry and telecommand solutions, network management, and data acquisition through physical ground stations and cloud-based offerings. Major providers are Viasat, Aegis Network Systems, and Eutelsat, while cloud providers such as Amazon, ground station offer fully managed services connecting satellite owners to their global infrastructure. Radio dishes at an Embratel Earth station in Brazil is illustrated in this picture. The providers are large established corporations such as Lockheed Martin Corporation, providing various space systems and services, Amazon Web Services, offering Amazon Ground Station, a fully managed service to connect satellite to cloud services and data. Viasat provides satellite communication services and solutions. Eutelsat provides satellite communication services. EchoStar Corporation offers a satellite connectivity and related services. Viasat Ground Segment as a service is illustrated in this picture. Other specialized providers and ground station networks are KSAT, which provide global ground network services for satellites and launch vehicles. LeapSpace, which focuses on providing efficient and scalable ground segment services. RBC Signals, which focuses on providing ground station network services. Hughes Network Systems offers enterprise-grade VSAT services and solutions. Inmarsat, a global satellite telecommunication company. Iridium Communications provides satellite communication services, often associated with a large constellation. A simplified spacecraft system is illustrated in this picture. For more information, contact Astronautics for Exploit. You've been listening to Satellite Ground Segment, terrestrial radio segment for spacecraft communication, and radio waves reception from astronomical radio sources by Dr. Ayenshola Ogundele, with the focus point, ground segment, importance of ground segment, elements of a ground segment, and satellite ground segment providers. Thank you.